Hi, this is Darren, and welcome to part 3 of the introductory tour around my car collection here in the midst of an Ohio winter. And I'm basically going to introduce you to what these cars are, tell you a little bit about them, what I've had done to them in recent years, but mainly focusing on repairs in 2023 and my plans for 2024. Now, I've already introduced you to my 2019 Ram 1500 pickup truck. The 2023 spend was just an oil change. It's only done 15,000 miles. The big issue that I've got with this is the leaks from the back window. This was a common problem with these, especially early models. This is an early DT. They leak from the plastic rear window surround and also the high-level rear brake light, and I've had that resealed. Mine was leaking from both. I'm still waiting for the new plastic window surrounds, a back order on them, and so that needs to be done. The reason it's got a cover on is that it is still leaking, and it leaks on this side somewhere down into the footwell on the rear passenger side. It's very annoying for a new vehicle, and so it can't be done quickly enough. That's the reason it sits under a cover now. Also under a cover, and I don't like keeping cars under cover, this is my 1985 Jaguar XJ Sovereign. I'll throw some pictures up so you can see it. This car was off the road for about 5 years. I recently got it back on the road after some extensive fuel system work. It had a new fuel pump, and it had all the fuel lines cleaned out and the injectors cleaned, etc. All the fuel rail was cleaned out, and we had it running again. That work cost me about $1,300. Unfortunately, the last time I went to start it just before Christmas, it wouldn't start, and I can hear the fuel pump clicking, but I can't hear it engaging. So I think it needs a new fuel pump. This time it's going to go to a Jaguar specialist to have that work done, because I've had 2 fuel pumps that have crapped out on me by the same mechanic that I basically took the Pontiac to originally, and the fuel pump's been replaced supposedly, but crapped out after a couple of months. However, it does have that issue with the return valve on the driver's side fuel tanks. It's a twin fuel tank setup, and they work independently. It's dumping fuel into the other tank and then running out of fuel on this tank, and that actually happened to me while I was out on the road. It's a problem, and so I can get around it with how little I drive it, but we're going to take it to a Jaguar specialist locally in the spring to have that fixed. And again, it's going to have basically an entire health check. This is a German market car. It was originally owned by an attorney for Jaguar. It was supplied to him in Germany as a company car. He loved it so much, he brought it home to Pittsburgh once he retired, under the old, again, in the 1980s, under the old grey market rules. So it's got some provenance. It's a beautiful car. It doesn't need for much, really, but I really want to use this. The reason it's outside is that I've been using it quite a lot this year to basically, because it had been sat for such a long time, just to make sure that there was no other issues, and it was been running fine apart from that return sender issue, and that's why it's really outside. It's not ideal. I want to get one of those coverall covers that's got the sand-filled girdle around it so nothing can get underneath, but that's going to be for 2024. Let's get to my next one that I've got outside, which again, not ideal, but this is under 2 covers. And I apologize for how I've got these pallets leaned up against it, but that is basically to stop the wind from blowing it around. I'm going to go around the other side. This is a 1996 Buick Roadmaster wagon. And again, I'll bring some pictures up. I started this just before Christmas and it was great, running fine. This is the other car that in 2023 had a big spend. What we did was we had new, we had the fuel lines cleaned, we had the tank cleaned out, we had all new AC Delco injectors put on, all 8 of them, and they're $100 each touch. We had new fuel pump. We've had new air suspension lines put on this and new air shocks at the back. Whoever had it previously had put new air shocks on the back, put them on the wrong way around, so it wasn't riding properly. Now it rides beautifully. It had an issue with the compressor keep coming on, and it was doing it less so after we had the airlines replaced. But it turned out that again, the previous owner had put on a battery isolator, and it was basically the swing bar type, and it was causing problems with the ignition. And we think that it was also causing that compressor to keep coming on and off because it was varying the voltage to even when it was isolated. It was the most ridiculous thing. And when it wasn't isolated, it was causing the voltage to vary, and the car just wouldn't start. Once we took that off, it was fine. So, and it's been fine ever since. So total spend in 2023 on this was about $2,800. The fuel system alone was $1,600, and then I spent about $1,200 on the other things as well, including we had a brand new battery on as well. So yeah, a lot done to that car in 2023, and it's sad that it's sitting under cover like this, but I've got a great big truck cover underneath, so there's not much that can really get underneath the car. It's kind of shielding everything. The biggest problem that I have is when we get high winds, so that's why I've got dustbins leaned up against it, pallets leaned up against it, and all the rest of it. So that's the 1996 Buick Roadmaster. Okay, this is our 2013 Chrysler Town and Country. Yes, it's a minivan. I picked this up for the princely sum of $6,000. It's done 150,000 miles. And we bought this car specifically as a mini camper. We replaced our old RV with it. And we took it for a test run down to Virginia with the dogs. We've got 5 dogs. We plan on traveling with this. You can check out their Instagram account at Gooby Adventures. And it wasn't entirely successful, that camping trip, so I'm not sure how much camping we will do in it. It's probably going to be better off because we've got a tent that attaches to the back of it. I'll throw some pictures up. It'll probably be better if we go somewhere fairly local for camping in it, and just so we can leave it for a couple of days and leave the tent up. But this is fully loaded, this thing. It's not the Limited, it's the Touring L, but it's got quite a few options on it as well, including the Blu-ray system. So yeah, it's got heated seats, heated steering wheel, it's got the lane detection, it's got blind spot detection rather, it's got automatic high beams. Yeah, it's actually really nicely appointed. It's very, very comfortable to drive, and it went down to Virginia and back without any issues whatsoever. We plan on using this for road trips with our dogs around the US going forward. It's effectively replaced our Cadillac SRX that we had in that regard. I'll throw a picture of that up. I love that car, but unfortunately, being a base model SRX, it did not have the lumbar support on the seats, which my wife absolutely needs for her chronic nerve pain. This is what we've now got for the dogs. 2013 Chrysler Town and Country. How's that for opulence? Right, so the only spend that we've done on this van, it did need, when we bought it, it needed new rear shock absorbers badly. I did not go for OE shock absorbers. Instead, I got better uprated Monroe shock absorbers. They're bright yellow, and they work a treat. It has improved the quality of the ride no end. Okay, it's a couple of months since I shot that piece of video, and it's now springtime. The snow is gone. Just going to show you inside this thing. It's lovely. It really is, and it's driving beautifully. I'm not going to show you the back because it's a little bit untidy back there right now. So I want to update you with something that happened at the end of February when I drove up to the Cleveland Auto Show. It was rainy when I drove up there, and I'm glad that what happened didn't happen on the way up, because I stayed there overnight. I woke up first thing the following morning to get breakfast, and the battery lights came on the van. Not good. So I called out the AAA, and they said that it was the alternator. In 90% of cases, it usually is. So I risked taking it 4 miles to a Chrysler dealer, Spitzer's, who got me in straight away, and they were absolutely brilliant. Hats off to them. My car was on the ramp within 15 minutes of me actually, there's another shot of the interior, of me getting there. But on the way over, the transmission died. All the electrics died completely, because obviously it was just running off the battery. And it went into limp home mode about 200 yards from the dealership itself. I only just made it. That was like 4 miles. They gave me a car to use. I had it for the whole weekend, and then I went back up on the Monday and got the van, and it was fine. But basically what had happened was the alternator that the previous owner had put in was a cheap aftermarket alternator. So we don't know where it was from, but my guess is probably a cheap one off of eBay. That was confusing the PCM. It effectively destroyed the PCM, because the PCM was expecting 8,000% more power than it could give. And in turn, the alternator just self-destructed. They also found that it was leaking transmission cooler lines as well. So they were replaced. So yeah, quite a bit of work. Total expense on that, and that will likely be all of its expense until it has an oil change for this year, $3,100. All right, last but not least, I just want to give you a glimpse of this. This is my 2015 Kubota BX2370 lawn tractor. Difference between a lawn tractor and a ride-on mower is that this has all the same controls as a full-size tractor, including PTO attachments. The rear rollover brace is currently folded down. This has a 3-cylinder 900cc engine. It's a 3-cylinder diesel. Produces 23 horsepower, which is more than the original Fiat 500. Incredible to think. Currently, we've got the blade on for the snow blade on for the winter, which uses a front PTO. That front PTO system was an optional extra. Obviously, the blade was an option, and even the mowing deck, which we also have, it's situated right at the back, which goes underneath and uses the middle PTO. The middle and the rear PTO come as standard with the tractor, but the mowing deck was an option. And every attachment you have on these is an option. So we've had this now for 8 years, and the spend last year was zero. The year before, we had a service, I did a service on it, and changed the oil, and we changed the hydraulic fluid as well. And this year we need to change the oil again, and we also need to change the fuel pump, the fuel filter as well. That is now overdue, in fact. So other than that, it's been really reliable. But just a glimpse inside my shed here, which is just full of crap.